We're going to let people join for just a few minutes. Good morning. As folks start to join, make sure that you open up your chat window. That way you can see what's going on here. We'll start in just a couple of minutes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa Norcross, and I am thrilled to be here today. Looks like if you open up your chat window, send me a note and let me know where you're from, that you're on. I'm coming to you this morning from Texas, where it is 7 a.m. here. I know you are all at various points in your day. You may be joining us in the evening, the morning. Either way, we're getting close to a weekend after a very long week for many folks. So I'm thrilled to have you here. Just a couple of things. We want to welcome you to this webinar on sharing a little bit about the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management. I'm one of the course leaders. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Just a couple of housekeeping things to make sure that you can join and hear everything. If you cannot hear, click on the arrow next to the microphone located at the bottom left of your screen and make sure your audio settings are right. The group chat is where you want to you're able to connect back and forth with me. What I want you to do is make sure, if you like, to set the to button to all panelists and attendees if you want everybody to see. If you just want to send it to me, you can just send it to the panelists. We've got Marco Abreu from Brazil. I'm sure I'm slaughtering your name, and I'm really sorry about that. We've got somebody joining us from Monaco, Gabrielle, and Juan joining us from California. I'm thrilled to have you all here. I'm not sure I'm the best way to start your weekend, but you know, I'll do my best today. So here's what we're going to cover today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and about the faculty on the programs that we have here, a little bit about Emeritus, and then I'm going to go into detail about the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management, what's involved in that, and how we think about that program and what it really offers for you. And then we'll do we'll talk a little bit about how you complete the application and the details, and I'll take any questions that you might have. So let's jump right in. A little bit about me. I am a strategy and leadership consultant and executive. So I do this for a living in terms of leading an organization, helping set strategy, those kinds of things, and have for years in various organizations and roles. At the same time, I have a role as your professor. So one of the things I do is I sort of have one foot in the academic area, and I have one foot in the in the business and industrial area. And I think one of the things that helps do, and you'll find this is very common for course leaders that you'll find at Emeritus. I'm not that atypical. What you'll find is that we get where you're coming from. We can relate to the problems that you've got in business. We also can filter sort of the best that academia has to offer and bring it to you. And so that's the only reason I share a little bit about me, because I'm fairly typical. Let's talk about the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management. Let's talk about the faculty that teach that. So these will be the lectures that you're able to tap into. And they come from David Rogers, who's on the faculty at the Columbia Business School, as is Dan Wolfenson. Those are the course instructors and professors in for different modules of the course. And John Van Manen is from MIT, the Sloan School there. And he is extraordinary. The one thing that you'll find about our faculty is, I think, one of the reasons that it makes it a different experience. I was a student at MIT, and there's sort of this ethos there that professors should make things approachable. They should know enough to make it easy to understand and really come to life. And I think John Van Manen embodies that. You're not going to find dry lectures. What you're going to find is someone who knows it so well that he can make it simple for you to understand. Now, by no means are these concepts simple. However, the ability to make it simple and approachable and usable is an extraordinary gift from someone who knows the topic well. And I think that's what we see from all of the course faculty that we have, is that they are truly committed to making it easy to take on. So complex ideas, very easy and approachable to do. And we've set up the content from them in a way that makes it really easy to take on. So just as you know, MIT and Columbia are both great centers of education. A lot of the thought leaders are there. So as business schools go, they're great places to draw from. So we partner with those universities, but we design the learning in a platform and in a way that it's meant for leaders in the real world. And it's designed not to weed you out and to be an extra layer of work for you to do. It is truly designed so that you become better, and it is as easy as possible for you to take on the concepts. So here's how we do that. We provide live webinars, and we do graded assignments, and but we make sure that there is practical application for those assignments. So rather than giving you something that is conceptual and idea based only that you sort of wouldn't use in the real world, what we try and make sure you do is that every assignment that you do really deepens your understanding of the concepts, and a significant portion of the learning that you will do will be, and writing that you do, will be applied to your own situation. Wherever possible, we have leaned into allowing you to take examples from your own world, from your own career, from your own businesses, and use them as part of your learning journey. They become the topics that you write about, that you reflect upon, so that what you're doing as you're going through it is you're getting better at your own job. You're not doing make work, you're doing the real work. And where we need to, we lean into examples so that you have a simplified version and case studies so that you have sort of that simplified version of the world to practice the concepts on before you apply it to your own real world situation. And that's kind of how we think about that. The other thing that we do is we try and broaden your exposure to what's going on in the world of business. And so we provide a lot of case studies that allow you to step into real world applications of these concepts that may be different from yours, in order to expand your world, expand the way you look at things. In addition, we make that learning bite-sized. The best part about this course is that, for me at least, as I go through it, and I go through it as one of the course leaders sort of every time I have a new cohort of students, is that it's bite-sized, which means it allows me to digest things in the moments that I have. Recognizing my schedule, my complex day, I might not be able to get on the course platform until 8 or 9 at night one day. And maybe another day it's, I have an hour over my lunch period that I can really do something, and I'm ready to learn. So it's there when I have the moment, and it's divided up into small modules that are 5 to 10 minutes long when I'm thinking about course lectures that allow me to sort of get the concept in a short period of time. It could even be on my commute in the morning. Listen to it, hear it, watch it, and then allow it to sink in. So it is the most flexible course you will ever take. The guest lectures from these great professors are so compelling that I always tell the story about, I have teenagers, and if anyone who's here has teenagers or remembers what it was like to be a teenager, often what your parents were doing was just not that interesting or cool. And what I find is if I'm watching one of my lectures in a common space in the house, it is so compelling that, and so interesting, that my teenagers, if they're walking by, may sit down and join me and watch. It's an approachable concept. They make it so interesting that they don't even realize that I'm attending a class. They sort of treat it like, well, that's a really cool concept. Think of it like micro TED Talks, right? These are things that are interesting enough that folks want to sit down. Now, the other thing we try and do is, where possible, we allow you to tap into sort of the peer network that's available to you, not only to get feedback on your learning, but to figure out how they're applying it in their situations. So one of the things that I think about sometimes is that it's really easy to, when you learn a new concept, to understand how it applies in your world today. What can be challenging sometimes is to think about what's going to change in your world and to know where your world's going to be in 6, 12 months, in 2 years. And the good news about having such a large cohort that goes through this program with you is that you're able to tap into and sort of watch the other peers that you have in this program and understand how they're applying it in their world. And knowing that sometimes I'll have students who'll come back and say, well, this thing worked perfectly in my current role, but it wasn't until like a couple of years later that I realized that I could apply it in this different way. And I watched someone else do it. They talked about it during the cohort, and I didn't truly understand how applicable that would be to me. And now I get it, and I've maintained, I can now reach back out to that person and find out, how did it go in that situation when you tried to do this? Those kinds of things. But learning from the crowd and getting the opportunity to sort of have those real life case studies that somebody's doing in parallel to you is a great opportunity that can't be underestimated. And then lastly, we do, of course, grade things and provide evaluations, but ultimately our goal is for you to learn and succeed. So by focusing on doing and having you do work that embeds your learning, that embeds your ability to apply that learning to your existing role, what we find is that those assignments don't feel as onerous. And they're really useful things to do. You sort of get the two for there. You get two for the price of one in terms of your effort. And as a result, our course completion rates are more than 85%. The fact is, we make it so if you have a desire to learn, it's easy. We don't make it hard for you. The point isn't to give you needless exercises. It's to give you learning that's focused in a way that you can take it on, and to make sure that those assignments and grades we give you are for the things you would do anyway, to embed that learning and to use that learning in your own roles. And as a result, our completion rate is really high, and you're guided by somebody like me through your learning journey who's truly committed on to your success. I want to see my students succeed. I want to see them get the concepts and figure out how to use them in their worlds. So a little bit about Emeritus. We partner with the best universities for these online courses. We have actually the numbers higher. It's almost 50,000 now, students from across the world. And this is how they're largely distributed. What you see is that our students come from all over the world, and that ensures that who you're engaging with on these courses are as diverse as we can possibly make them. Now, a little bit about the diploma itself. So the diploma in business management is, we sort of estimate 4 to 6 hours of learning each week. And that's split up between live webinars where you'll engage with the professors, and video lectures, webinars with me, or someone like me who's your course instructor. We're professors, teachers, and I weigh in on leading organizational change, and I'm a part of a course leader for that program, and my doctorate is in values-driven leadership. But of course, I have sort of that foundational experience as through my original engineering degree and my MBA from Harvard. So what I have is sort of that ability to understand the concepts from the other parts of the course and apply them, but my expertise is in leadership. So what that does is that you've got somebody like me available to you in the webinars, online, and that allows you to sort of pull all of the pieces together and understand that I don't just know about, and all your course leaders are like this, we don't just know about one area, we really know about all of the areas and how you put it together, even though our ultimate expertise might be in a single area. You also benefit from sort of these fresh perspectives on existing challenges, and we try and sort of give you the tools to come at it from a different direction, to evaluate the decisions you're making, the teamwork that's going on around you, how to sort of manage those processes and activities better, and also understanding the social networks that connect the organization and how you go about leveraging them. It takes 6 months to go through this course. It's really designed to sort of build each concept one upon the other, so that by the time you're through with this program, you're truly a better leader. You're more prepared as a business leader to take on the challenges that are coming at you. And I think what you find is that 6 months goes really quickly, because it is compelling. It's not, it's made for you. So let's talk about the business management course itself. It's divided into 3 large modules. That first module is around digital strategies for business, and what the frameworks are available to think about in this new world, how we think about innovating strategy, and thinking about the digital business models that increasingly corporations and organizations are needing to lean into in this new digital age. We give you frameworks that allow you to invent or reinvent your own business model or challenge the existing business model. The perspective to lead the digital initiatives that will be necessary to transform it, either in small or large ways, to manage both evolution and innovative step levels of change in your organization. Those are around areas that range from customer engagement to data analytics that underpin everything you're doing, to product strategy and disruptive competition. This really is meant to allow you to look at your business in a major way, at a systemic, strategic way, so that you are able to think about ultimately where your organization is headed. And if you have set up the right infrastructure for either your group or your team to go in a new direction, all the way up to your organization as well. Also, to think about how your digital strategy, what that's going to require of you and how you need to lean into that. So that's what that equips you for. Module 2, if we move on to that, the second third of the course is really about your financial acumen. It's got this corporate finance bent to it, and it gives you enough to be more literate and more savvy about what decisions are being made, and to lay them out in a very logical and structural way. We provide some of the fundamental concepts in finance, allow you to practice capital budgeting and valuation, trying to give you a framework in which you can understand the relationship between risk and return in your particular organization. And then lastly, what we do, that third module, is around leading organizations and change. Understanding that in today's world, change is truly the only constant. And as leaders, what we're provided with is the opportunity to lead that change well. This will give you some frameworks for not only looking at your situation and your challenges in your organization and determining what needs to be done, but also considering methods by which it could be done and frameworks to understand which paths will be the most effective and which ones will need some refinement if they are to be successful. We try and help you understand how your organization, your own leadership skills, but also the leadership competencies that you bring to bear on the situation, and diagnosing the situation so that you have ability to understand it better, more thoroughly, and understand what gaps you need to fill, giving you both a political and a cultural perspective to understand what's required to tap into those changes. So those are the 3 modules. That's how we think about that. In sum total, here's what you get in the course. There are 224 video lectures, 27 different discussion formats. So when you think about these 2 together, together with the assignments, here's how it rolls. We give you the video lectures that are architected in such a way that you can take them on in little bites, if that works for you, in macro bites, if you are I need to sit down and sort of binge get these concepts, and the ability to do them in both ways. So we give you that and provide you these discussion boards in which you can engage with your fellow class members about how you're applying them. Not just the questions that you might have on the concepts. No, those discussion boards are really about how you're thinking about this stuff applying in your world. This is what allows you to get the benefit from the experience of these real life cases that are reflected from each of the different organizations that your peers are already engaged in. The case studies that we provide, there'll be 11 different ones over the course of your 6 months, which is a couple a month, allow you to go deep in an organization that is a real and relevant case study, giving you that construct, but also exposing you to that industry, how things work. And will also really encourage you through your assignments to lean into what you're doing in the real world, writing about how you're applying them, and you'll get feedback on those as well. And lastly, you'll have 12 online teaching sessions where you get the benefit of somebody like me going through some of the concepts. You can ask questions. You can engage with me. And what's not on here is you also get access to people like me who, if you have a question real time, my students email back and forth to me all the time. We talk about things. I've even been known to get on a call or 2 with some of them to talk through specific concepts and to think about how it might apply to their current real world situation. So that is, frankly, all of this is why I continue, and people like me continue to do this, because there is such a rich breadth of content here that it is a wonderful springboard for learning all of the concepts. So the learning platform itself, this is kind of a preview of what it looks like. This is John Van Manen. He's my personal academic crush because he is so extraordinary as a leader and makes the topics so approachable. He's the one that if I'm playing him, and he will be one of the professors in this course that you get to hear from. I know one of my kids or my husband or my mom will sit down right beside me and listen to what he has to say. But what you see here is that you will be able to tap into this platform, and all of your learning is right here. So what we've tried to do is make it as easy as possible. You've got your dashboards on the left-hand side. If you have an internet connection, you can do everything right here. And rather than struggling with a system or a commute, especially in these days and age, when we're being asked to socially distance ourselves from one another, this allows you to really connect in a way that doesn't provide additional overhead. It's just easy. Through this single platform, you do everything. You watch the videos, you submit your assignments, you tap into the syllabus and do everything you need to do is just right here. If you want to send me an email, you go down to the to your mail and you click on that and you send an email to me or the tech support people or your fellow students. If you are engaging in a discussion board, again, right there. So what you have is the benefit of sort of the no overhead solution. You need a web page and a logical brain. It's easy. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And I just find it painless, which in this day and age with technology, I think is saying something. So that's sort of the big benefit to this, is that you don't have to go anywhere. You can engage with it anytime, and it doesn't take a lot of overhead in terms of tech support or anything else in order to engage. Grading, folks always want to ask about grading. Again, the way we grade is this. If you are engaging in the course and learning, your grade will take care of itself. You apply the concepts from the module on the assignment, and the assignment is designed to embed that learning and to be as applicable as possible in your real world. The assignments then get graded and the points count toward your overall GPA. There's a minimum overall GPA required for graduation. But what I say is that we are committed to your graduation. And if you are engaged with your learning, all of those pieces will naturally fall into place. And at the end of the program, you'll get both a course transcript with your GPA on it for each of the 3 courses, as well as the overall postgraduate degree in business management GPA on it. So that's the grading. The past participants have really come from all over the world. We've given some example countries, but as you saw from the map, what you see is that distribution of students across the world. And each time we go through a run of this course, what we find is that we see those distributions once again. Past participants, one of the things that you benefit from is this diversity, right? You get to tap into this diversity of experience, the diversity of levels of experience, and of coming from different industries and countries. So in terms of work experience, what you see is that our past participants have come from so many different areas. And interestingly, the biggest block is other, right? So that says the largest single group may come from IT services, with banking and consulting in there as well, and healthcare. But what you find is that really there's a huge distribution across all of these things, all of these different sectors that allow you to understand what's going on with them and add to the diversity of the cohort and to the richness of your learning platform. They also come from, we've mislabeled these backwards, but the industries that's the industries that they've come from. In terms of work experience, you'll see we have folks who are relatively early in their careers, maybe at just the 6 to 10 years, ranging all the way up to more than 20 years of experience. So you'll get to interact with both multiple generations and multiple levels of work experience within that same criteria, within that same industry. So that is a great opportunity. In terms of applying, we try to make it as easy for you there as possible. Again, I did have a question that I just want to clarify. How do we interact with the team? Again, you do it through that learning platform. So what you'll see here is the discussion boards allow you to interact with one another, as well as your as your the program support people and your course leader and instructor. That's there. You can do some of the collaborations. We try and support you doing it both offline and real time. We try and make those as easy as possible for you. And we try and arrange any interactions that are needed at a viable time. Now, one of the things we do, we understand that both time zones and life can get in the way. So what you'll find is even for those live sessions, we do two things. We post all of our slides afterwards on the course platform, and we also record them so that you can go back. Now, that can be used in two separate ways. One, if something happens, life gets in the way, you know, your boss comes in or your big customer comes in at the last minute with a meeting that conflicts, it's not a problem. You can always watch that video later. You've got access to the slides. We, again, make it easy for life to not get in the way. And also, should you want to engage in the webinar and really listen while it's going on and have the ability to go back and catch something that you missed, it's there for that too. So you don't have to be distracted by trying to, you know, take screenshots or copious notes about one concept. If we've moved on to another, you get to go back and revisit it. So we try and make it, despite this geographic diversity and this difference in time zones, make it possible for you to do as much asynchronously as you can. So in terms of applications, the requirements for your application, you need to submit a completed application form and a current resume and a proof of a diploma or degree in whatever field of study you've gone through, just so that we understand what your starting point is. Submit just your highest qualification. And we are looking for candidates who have their bachelor's or other degree diploma from an educational institution. So here's the other thing that we have to do. And the next few bullets, all from here to the bottom, are all focused on making sure that you have enough English competency to engage effectively in the course and to not make it a frustrating experience for you. So you just have to submit one of these things. So if you're, particularly if you're a non-native English speaker, any of these things work. A test, an English language proficiency, and a Pearson Versant test, or a certificate of completion course from a prior Emeritus test, Emeritus course, or a document that shows that you've had 2 years of working in a country for which English is the language of business. It's basically, we're just checking to make sure you won't be frustrated by it if your English isn't at the level that would allow you to engage. So that's the application requirements. Honestly, they're not really onerous. They're meant to evaluate whether or not you can succeed in this course, because we want to set all of our students up for success. The program fee, terms of the program fee, it's $3,000 US plus GST, payable for Singapore-based students only. There is an application fee, it's $50. And then the program would commence on the 25th of March. The last application date is the 24th. So just make sure your applications are in by then. And that's really all it takes to apply. Here, we're showing you the sample certificate that you get at the end of it. And as I said, our graduation rate and completion rate is pretty high, because frankly, if you're committed enough to start, and you're committed enough to get through. We don't add that make work stuff that often gets in the way, and we don't make it hard for you to engage. If you want to engage, the platform makes it easy for you. The content is relevant. It is a program designed to work. And that's the great part of this. Once you graduate, you have access to our network. The Emeritus Network is a platform that's exclusively available to past participants in our programs. Anyone who passes a certified diploma program, certification or diploma program, is automatically made a member of this. It enables the participants to connect with people, not just who went through that course with them, but who are like-minded individuals across the globe. It allows you to tap into them for ideas, help. This becomes your go-to place for getting help whenever you need it. You see something new in your industry, you see something that you haven't dealt with, you want a little advice, this is your place to go. It also is your source for continued growth. Folks who are in this community have done everything from talking about how they're developing themselves professionally, what experiences that they've had that's valuable, generating business ideas, developing new ventures, looking at opportunities for the future, joining into discussions around all of those topics plus more. It also gives you the ability to participate in upcoming events and access global career opportunities that get identified through this group. In addition, once you become an alumni and are part of this network, you get a little bit of tuition assistance. You have access to those programs. You have access to the startup corner, and you get extended program access. You have the ability to go back into the course that you've taken and tap into what was there. If you want to revisit a concept, that is a great part, a great benefit as well. So that's kind of where we are. Let me take questions at this point. And again, if you use your chat box and set it to all panelists and attendees and put your questions there, I'll see them and answer them as I've done sort of throughout the webinar for today. Any questions? I'm going to give you a minute to put them there if they exist. Type in here. Okay, and there may not be, and that is just okay. Oh, Gabriella is currently completing the application. That's great. I look forward to seeing you in the upcoming program. So, okay, it looks like we've got no questions. Oh, I lost the beginning. Is it going to be available in any base? I'm not sure what that means. I think what you're asking is it available? If you can watch the rest of the webinar later. You know, let me ask program support if we record this one. I believe we may, but what we may be able to provide that to you, but let me get program support to let us know whether we have recorded today's interview. So I've got a couple more questions about English. Marco says he can understand English very well and can have a conversation, but isn't terribly fluent and doesn't have an English proficiency score. Here's the deal. If we'll find a way to make that work. If you truly are, I had this very thing happen. I've lived kind of all over the world, and I have functional capability in several languages, but I hadn't really been tested. And I was, so we'll figure it out. You'll see on the application, let's see if I'm going to go to that page. So all of these are different ways in which you could establish English competency, but given your ability to type and write to me, I understand that your English is probably sufficient for that. And I'm sure we can find a way to help with that. Your your GPA in college was a while ago. I can relate to that, and it was average at best. What we're really looking for everyone to do is to just establish that you have either the experience or of having gone through a higher learning program. So your GPA does not matter at all. And the support for career guidance. So one of the things that you'll see as part of this is that you will get, when you complete this, the ability to connect with sort of this global event. There are events and there is a network in place. And so what that allows you to do is to tap into that. We don't, in this particular course, it's all about developing your own competencies. But the Emeritus network is really about succeeding over the long term and building your network. And that's really where you get to tap into the wisdom of the crowd to consider what your own professional next steps are and how you might want to be thinking about your development, your own professional development, and how others are doing that. So that's kind of how we try and support your professional development as well as your learning journey. Okay, any more questions or thoughts? If I'm working in a global company and had, my guess is that may be sufficient. Certainly put it on the application. You shouldn't have to retest in English if you are working in a global organization where English is required. The required score to pass and obtain a certificate is cumulative. There is also a minimum for each course to pass. But as I said before, our pass rates are 85%. And the number of points required to get through, here I'm trying to go grading. Basically, if you engage with the course at all, you don't have to worry about passing. We try and make that not a problem. What you will worry about is, am I applying this as much as I can to my organization? And because we do grades a little bit differently, they're sort of not commensurate. You basically, if you want to pass this course, that won't be a problem. If you do the work, you show up, never a problem. Again, we try not to make this about grades. We try to make it about your learning journey. You don't need letters of recommendation. I don't believe. I'm trying to open up this question. The assignments, Pedro asked about what the assignments are like. So they're a little bit different. I think a few examples are, so in that leading organizational change course, that third course in the module, let me speak to a couple of example assignments. One assignment is, after reading a case study, we ask you to get involved in the discussion boards and talk about it. What did you think? How do the concepts apply to your own organization? What were some alternative courses of action that the individual protagonist in the case could have done, and why might that have worked or not worked? Again, it's sort of reflecting out loud in the group, and allowing yourself to think about it from multiple different perspectives. And so you're also required to read and respond to a couple of the folks in the discussion board. Frankly, if you're reading the cases and thinking about them at all, that becomes the next logical course of action, right? Instead of talking to someone at home or at work who hasn't read the case, we're just asking you to talk about that on the discussion board with somebody who has read that case and is thinking about it from their point of view. Another assignment is when we teach about leading in that course, we teach about looking at your organization from 3 separate lenses and trying to understand what you see. What are your observations about your own organization? And so we ask you to sort of write those down. Again, the things that you would normally be doing if you learn a new concept, trying to sort of apply it to how does that work in my organization? How does that work? That's that reflection. And so these reflection exercises are the other things that you get to do. You get to say, okay, I've learned about this concept, but let me reflect on my own situation and see how they apply and don't apply, what works, what doesn't work. And so that's the second kind of thing. The other kind of thing that we do is we allow you, first, there's a few of the concepts that are a little more complicated. And so we try and divide it up into a couple of different levels. So the first level is if calculations are involved in other things, we ask you to take an example from, from when I do the network analysis. When we ask you to look at your own personal network and say, do the math on that. Look at your own personal network, create a network diagram for your own personal network, and make some observations about that. Run the calculations for it. So that gives you, and because that's a little bit more complex and we want to make sure you get it right, what we'll do is we may give you a simplified example before that to sort of try out how to make the calculations work and how to make the diagrams work before we ask you to do it on yourself. So again, what we're doing with those assignments is giving you the platform and the opportunities to apply them in your real world. And we simplify your real world down or give you an example if we need to on some of the things that are a little harder to wrap your mind around. So those are typically what the assignments will be like. Again, we're focused on making you more effective, not making you do work that doesn't help you get better. Make work is not what we're about. It's about relevant subject matter, relevant exercises. So we've really gone through a lot of reflection as we've put the courses together to make sure that almost wherever possible, we've made this about you, about your situation, and made it things that you would want to do or would do anyway. In your world. Okay, any other questions? Let's see. I don't see any more questions. Let's see, should I need to attend on time, just in time discussions? Most of the discussions you can do asynchronously. So they're done by discussion boards. And so you can engage in those discussion boards in a way that meets your time zone requirement. Wherever possible, we have tried to take the pain of being in a different time zone or at a distance out of the entire equation. And just like the webinars and the other things, we almost always record them so that, well, in fact, we always record them so that you can attend them even if it doesn't fit with your schedule. We allow you to be asynchronously fully engaged. And I think that's one of the things I find most compelling about this, because if there's any one thing that I know as an individual leader and as a human being in this world, that if there is a plan and a schedule, it'll get disrupted. And sometimes the best of intentions, the world just gets in the way. And we try and make it possible so that at least our platform, our courses have the flexibility to make it work with your life. Continuations of the course. This course doesn't have a logical single next step. However, we have several courses that you can go into sort of the direction or the needs that you need to go. Let's see. Can you please elaborate a little about the optional breakthrough innovation through systematic inventive thinking? So when we look at digital strategies, those concepts there will touch on business models and digital innovation and how you can tap into those things in order to move your business forward. I think that's what you're talking about. If I haven't quite gotten to that, and I'm not answering it in the right way, why don't you can reach out to program support and email on that one if I don't have the right information for you. I just wasn't quite sure what you were asking there. And it looks like we've got one other question as we're coming almost up to time. If for professional reasons you're late on assignments, you know what? That happens. So we try and make as many accommodations as possible. If you can't meet a deadline, you just reach out to us and let us know, and we'll work with that. Again, our objective as professors and leaders of this course is that we set deadlines to make sure you're not falling behind, because concepts build on one another. So if you're a little bit late on something, that is perfectly fine, and we'll work with that. If as I said, life happens. We're part of that. So we try and extend deadlines where needed to make sure that it meets your needs. What we do there is you just reach out to program support or your professor and your course leader, and you say, look, I'm going to be a little bit late on this. It's never any problem. The only time that we would have trouble with that is if we see that you're late enough on some of these assignments that it's making it hard to take the concepts in. So we'll try and sort of help you stay enough on track so that you're able to really learn what you need to learn from the course, because the concepts build on each other. So that's kind of how we balance that. But our goal is to help you get through the program. So we're coming up on time. I just want to to thank all of you for your time today. I hope I've answered all the questions that that you had. As I said, this is the program, the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management. Applications are easy. I would love to see you all in the course. And I wish you all the best on your learning journey, wherever that takes you. Thanks.